Hello, YouTube. This is Kendra, aka KD, aka DJ Fish Grease, and I'm coming at you today a little bit reflective. Today, which I'm recording this on June the 6th, I turned 40 today. So there's been a lot of reflection, a lot of thinking. The past year has been very trying, and there have been a lot of changes, drastic ones, in my life. On the 31st of May marked exactly 4 months and 10 days since the passing of my husband. Before that, in August of 2017, I had the passing of my son. He was technically my little brother, but I raised him. Anybody that's heard me talk, you know the story. So today I was just thinking about not only just my life personally and all of the different things that I've been through and a lot of things that I've never been through. Just got me in a reflective type of mood. And one of the things that I've been thinking about was how I got to this place. And what I mean by that is how I became who and what I am. Because when you have changes like that in your life, it causes one to question who they are, to question what are they made of, to question what are they really about. And I find myself in a position where my cover has been torn from me and my crutches have been taken. So now what? And with me, I've always had to find a way to persevere, find a way to make it through, find a way to hold things together, and also not only within yourself, but with the people and things around you. And for as hurtful as a lot of events in my life have been, they have also served to mature me at a much earlier stage than my counterparts and my friends when I was growing up. And they have served to make me the woman I am today. One of the things that you do, like I said, you question who you are. And when I find myself questioning who I am comforted to know that I actually do know who I am. I may be in a situation where I'm having to forge a new path in my life. When I was really young, there were things going on in my household which forced me to make choices. And almost always it was a choice between selfishness and selflessness, a choice between doing the responsible thing or doing the thing that I wanted to do or the thing that made me feel good at the moment. And I've always been the type of person to assume responsibilities because I simply cannot see something falling apart and it's something that I say I love or I say I care about or am a part of, and I stand idly by as it falls. And when it falls to pieces, I sort of shrug my shoulders and walk off. I'm not built that way. So I began to do things like take it upon myself to start rearing and raising my siblings, my younger siblings. So when other girls and boys my age were jetting off to the skating rink or hitting up the mall, because you know in the 90s the mall was still something that you hit up on the weekend, when they were just doing what teenage kids do, do what you do when you're 14, 15, 16. You might have experimented with some weed, or you might have experimented with boys, or you might have, you know, skipped class or snuck out the house, or, you know, things that a teenager you figure they'll do. You don't necessarily want them to do it, but you're not surprised when they do. I did not have those different experiences. I always had a choice to make. You can either venture off and do what you want, which I had an opportunity to do, and you know, consequences be damned, or you have to take care of this thing here. Because if you go off and you start doing what you want to do, doesn't matter if you are young and you should be maybe experimenting with some things. If you spin off, things are gonna fall apart, and they're gonna fall apart in such a catastrophic way that they're not gonna be recoverable. You're not gonna be able to come back and sort of pick up the pieces or act as though you were oblivious to what was happening around you. So, along with being the type of person who assumes responsibilities and shoulders them, I also had a tumultuous household, and I had a mother who was by turns abusive and strict and sort of conservative in a way. Because we were raised in a church like many black people. So my mother had her ideals about what womanhood should be, and she imparted them. Some of it was okay, much of it was vague, and she didn't do a good job of leading by example, because with the way she operated, I didn't want to be her. So I didn't pattern myself after her. I ended up patterning myself after my father, which served to exacerbate a female's natural masculine quality, because females have a natural masculinity as well. It should not be and is not naturally equal to or surpass her femininity, and men are the same. They have a natural femininity to them that should develop but should never be equal to or overshadow his natural masculinity, because his masculinity is his default. And for a female, typically our femininity is our default. And a lot of times we have to work on the other side to develop it. So, by me patterning myself after my father, naturally it was masculine because my father is a very masculine man. Very much a man, very much unapologetically so. So he did things a certain way, and I learned how to do things that way. So I have a sort of pragmatism and practicality to me that I credit to him and my patterning after him. Because my father's the type of person to see things they need to be done, and they're once he realizes they need to be done and he must do them, there's really no more talking. It just needs to be done. There is not a lot of negotiation going to that. You know, he doesn't know what else he needs to say. It needs doing. And that is pretty much my personality as well. And so I had a typical upbringing of a child in the crack era in the hood. It was typical in a lot of ways. But my perspective and how I handled them may have been atypical because I just had a different outlook on things. The situations that I was in simply forced me to make choices, and those choices were adult choices because I viewed many of them as life or death situations. You know, I'm the type of person I can give and I can compromise and I can do it a lot. But there are times where I cannot compromise and I refuse to. And when survival is part of the package, or when there's something that I feel that must be done and there's no getting around it, it must be done. And if it destroys something in the path, I'll feel sorry about it, but that won't stop me from making the decision that needs to be made. So again, I've been reflective on a lot of that past few days, past week rather. And which leads me to sort of figuring out, or sort of not figuring out, or laying out rather, how I became the woman that I did. And it further led me to examine the different traits of what womanhood is really about. You know, I talk a lot in my videos about how women don't know how to be women anymore. And I'm going to try to clarify at least a little bit of that. Because many women are quite in touch with their sexuality. But your femininity and your womanhood doesn't really have a whole lot to do with your sexuality. It's a part of it, but it's not as big a part as people like to think. When you are becoming a woman, because mind you, I didn't just come to these conclusions a week ago. These are things that have been building up in me since I was 9 or 10 years old. I just had a different outlook on stuff. I had a tendency to at least try to see the world the way that it is, rather than the way I thought it could be or would be or should be or wanted it to be. When you go through trauma, you You either block it out and construct a fantasy world to cope, or you let realism cope for you, and then you just handle it. So I didn't come to these conclusions, a year ago, or just when I got to YouTube, or whatever. Um, I think back on all of the things that happened to me and around me. And through all of these years, I've come to sort of single out certain traits that I think are integral to real, true womanhood. And I'm gonna say a few of them in no particular order. I'm not ordering them in order of importance. Just what comes to my mind. And one of the things is that sense of responsibility. And I say that because women have, whether they want to recognize it or not, or they want to deal with it or not, women have a lot of things to be responsible for. We are the keepers of home and family. And home and family are the building blocks of a community, and communities are the building blocks of civilization, of society. And how we interact with, conceive, birth, and raise our children dictate what the future society will be. And when you sit back and you think about that, that is a daunting responsibility. To be responsible for the next future generation, which could affect the world infinitely. And when we are broken women, we break the community. We can break it. When we are broken and when we remain broken and we do not seek repair. And whole women can almost single-handedly cure the community. So we must work to become whole women. Whole women. And not broken girls who allow traumatic things or hurtful things to happen to us, and we remain in that space emotionally. We don't ever actually move past it. We never actually move past the hurts or the slights or the pains or the whatever we went through. And I know what you went through. I know what you went through. The women that I talk to on this channel, I call you out because I know what you went through. But also because I know that you don't have to stay in that space. You do not have to remain in that hurt space, in that broken space. And you don't have to mask it, because if you mask it, it never heals underneath that mask. It just remains an open, festering wound. The mask is just presenting another face to the public, but it does nothing for that wound. Nothing at all. You have to treat that wound. I know that your mother shamed you. She shamed your womanhood. She didn't teach it to you, mainly because she didn't know what it was. She didn't know how to teach it. She didn't even know how to use it. She didn't even know how to wield it. Our feminine energy is like magic. And I don't say that in a pixie dust kind of way. I mean, when a woman is in order, her magic is powerful and it's potent and it's focused. When she's out of order, she has that same power, but it's chaos. You ever play? I'm a gamer. And sometimes when you play role playing games, you have certain characters, and the characters have different abilities. So sometimes you'll play a game and you'll be a wizard or a witch. And that wizard or sorcerer or whatever will sometimes have a chaos magic power. And the chaos magic power, almost across any game, is very powerful spell. But it harms not only the enemy but yourself or your allies. Anybody who games, you'll get what I'm trying to say. Women are like that. Women who are out of order have just as much power as women who are in order. They just don't use it well. They don't know how to use it. And so it harms not only the enemies but themselves as well, because it's unfocused, it's scattered, it's everywhere, and it's doing damage everywhere. Every time she releases it, something is hurt. So it sounds like I went off on a tangent, but actually I didn't. Just stay with me. I need you to stay with me. Women are, we have to be in control of ourselves. We have to control our emotions, because that's where that potency is. It's in our emotional selves, because that's our wheelhouse. That is how we operate. That is what we operate through. That is how we perceive and digest the world around us. And that is how we communicate to the world around us. It's through our emotional self, because it's powerful with us. It's strong with us. So a woman who has no or little control over her emotional self, she does damage unimaginable to people she may not even think are even in her area to get damaged by it. We have a widespread reach, and that's one of the things that on this channel, I don't want you ladies to listen to it and get mad. And you're gonna get mad because the truth pisses you off. And the truth pisses anybody off, to be honest with you. But I don't, after you get angry with me, after you're mad at me and you click off and you thumb down and you call me all kind of names, when you're done with that, I need you to understand that your power is of great magnitude as a woman. And it is like that because we are capable of sustaining a life within our bodies and then bringing it to fruition and then molding in our image an entire human being until its adulthood. That is your influence. Our influence is such that when we are in flux, the entire group is in a flux and it cannot move. Like I said in the last video, if the heart stops pumping, we die. Who's the heart? Us. We're the heart. And I'm not saying this braggadociously. I'm trying to get the ladies to understand who we are, because that's one of the things that's missing. We don't know who we are. As women, we have no idea. None. We believe that the totality, the sum total of our femininity and our womanhood is landed and located squarely in our vaginas. And it is not. It is not. That is your sexuality. That's part of where your sexuality physically manifests itself. But that is not the totality of your womanhood. And I know nobody taught you your womanhood because your mother was jealous of you. And whether she said that or not, she was, because when you got into puberty and she saw that her little girl was becoming a woman in front of her eyes. See, she was scared of her own womanhood because she didn't understand it. So she definitely was scared of yours. And rather than learn together, or for her to up her game so she could really tell you what it was all about, she would rather clam up, or she would rather spread to you the bitterness of her broken heart rather than give you the realism of your womanhood. She would rather poison the well, which was you. You were the well. And the poison was all of her bitterness towards men, whether those men was your father or some ex or her father or whomever these men were. The bitterness she had in her heart for them, she poured it into you. She told you things like you can't trust the men. The men only want one thing from you. You can't trust no damn man. And don't fuck around with them boys, them little nappy head boys. And what, you trying to be fast? You being fast when all you were really doing was in the mirror, testing your womanhood. You testing it. You in the mirror making faces and trying to look at your breast that done grew in, and you trying to, see if you can walk sexy or see if you can work your body out, and she shamed you for it instead of teaching you how to wield it. And when I say how to wield it, I don't mean destructively. I don't mean wield it in a way that would harm others, because that is actually how you keep from harming others. It's like having an inexperienced person around guns. The only way you can be sure that inexperienced person is not gonna accidentally harm a bunch of people with that gun is teach them how to use it. Because they probably gonna pick the gun up anyway. So you might as well know what you're doing when you pick it up. So you teach them how to shoot, you teach them how to aim, you teach them about the safety of the weapon. You teach them about the responsibility of that weapon. Don't pull it out unless you intend to use that weapon. Don't play with it. Don't play with others with this. Is very important, very dangerous. This can be very dangerous if not handled properly. So the same thing with your womanhood. It can be a dangerous weapon, more dangerous than any assault rifle or any bomb. An inexperienced user of her womanhood, she can damage a bunch of men, other women, and children. That chaos magic she let off is indiscriminate of who it hurt. So better to teach you how to use it so you'll know what you're getting into and what you're doing than try to shame you for not using something that come naturally to you anyway. You're gonna use it. It's there. Unless you die young, you're gonna grow into a woman. Better that the street don't teach you. But our mothers didn't see it that way. They were taught that it was something evil about it. And so they taught you that it was bad. She might have taught you just enough to know about your period. And the only sex education you got from her was don't come in here pregnant. At least that was my era. It might have changed now. But I was dared to come home with a kid before I got out of high school, before I got 18 and got out of her house. So I'm not going to hold you long. I was wanting to do a live show today, but on the weekdays I work and it's difficult to arrange it, you know. But maybe I have to reserve my live shows for the weekends and do it that way. Because sometimes I want to interact with you guys in real time. But I'm going to leave you off with this one. But to the younger women, don't wait until you're my age, because 40 is the age of maturity for both men and women. Usually this is something said about men, but I've experienced it. Women do it too. We do it too. And see, I had hard lessons to teach me my womanhood before I got 40. The lessons I learned about my womanhood allowed me to hold a marriage and a family together for 20 years successfully. But you know, I got married at 20. You know, a month after my 20th birthday. So, you know, the experiences I went through taught me the base elements of my womanhood, the building blocks of my womanhood early. But that came as a trial by fire. And a lot of us go through that same fire and don't come out that way. And this is not me bragging. This is me understanding the real numbers and that I was lucky. I was fortunate. I was an outlier, the way in which I sought to handle things. Don't wait to become a woman in your 30s and 40s. Do that while you're young. That's what it's there for. I know your mama not teaching you. My mama didn't teach me. My mother taught me everything not to do as a woman. I learned by watching her what not to do. So in that way, I credit her as well for being the woman that I am, because she showed by example what it is when a woman is in full chaos and the harm that she does to all around her. And it's potent and it's powerful and it's damn near inescapable. It's damn near inescapable. Alright. I'm gonna talk to you later. Catch you on the next video. I'm out.